Tonight at dinner, my 5-year-old professed to me, Daddy, I know everything. What is everything? I asked. I know that apples and cherries are red, he confidently snapped back. He knew full well that his response answered my question. He was sure the conversation wouldn't continue on that vein. Is that everything? I asked, just to see where it would go. It's enough, was his response. Our experiences are draped with knowledge. Each one of us has had multiple experiences, as have our families and friends, friends of friends, neighbors, and so on, and so on. I have a faith that tells me we're all connected. We are more than what our mirrors reflect back to us. As one, the knowledge must be a communal property, a shared file. Psychics for years have delved into the universal consciousness to pull information during readings. Here was my 5-year-old telling me he knows everything, and I think he was right. And as he goes deeper into his own interests, the knowledge will be there for the plucking, like an apple or a cherry from the tree. The knowledge is there for the taking. Pluck what is enough, and be grateful for the resource of universal knowledge. At 5 years old, the apples and cherries are red was enough. He made me smile. And this, my friends, is an excerpt from the book called Signs Along the Path, A Guide to an Inspired Life by yours truly and my good friend Holly Matson. And I wanted to talk about this book because this book has been such an amazing part of my life, because it began with a blog that I had done many, many years ago. And my good friend Holly diligently took the ideas of those blog posts and created an amazing concept around turning it into a book. And I think it's time we bring Holly in and let her share her perspective on this whole thing. So hello, Holly Matson. How are you?
Well, hello there. You guys are going to have to forgive me. I think she's off screen, but my cat is going to help here. So
Oh,
if
good.
anything goes wrong, it's her fault. You're right. This was a labor of love for both of us, because you had written these really good blog posts that were thematic within themselves. I mean, they were just a series of short stories and parables and so forth. And I don't remember the conversation now, but I remember we kind of both teased around the idea of assembling them. Like,
Mm.
if there's a finite number of people looking at the website, how many more who don't normally look at websites would see this message if we put it in book form? And so, being the anal organizer that I am, in case you don't know, editor, proofreader, copywriter, etc., and extremely organized on top of it, it was really fun for me to go through this collection of blog posts and kind of organize them, tweak them into a flow. And I have to look at the contents here in the book, because the book, we love our book. It's the initial opening section is on manifestation and creation. I mean, it's just an overview. But then it goes from fear to faith to gratitude, healing relationships, love, ending in God. And so this is quite literally a journey from fear to God. And it was not difficult to assemble the posts, because they all seem to fit into one of those categories. And this is the best of the best. This is the cream of the crop of the many posts that were active at the time. So it kind of created itself, but my organizational skills had a lot to do with it. And what I love about it is that, as we were talking about recently, it, to me, the book is sort of a framework. It's taking these stories and parables and what ifs, and think about this kind of thing, and allowing a framework that people can apply to their own lives if they want to. So it's powerful and very inspiring, and often very funny, because it's you, writings that are compiled into a really easy to use journey. You can read it from beginning to end and follow the journey. You can pick it up like so many do and just read one small segment. And I think it's very user friendly, but it's also really powerful. It's a really good message.
And I love the way you compile this. I mean, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to take any credit for how this book came to be, because this was in my opinion a miracle brainchild of my friend Holly Matson, who said. He said, "There's all these posts. Let's make a book." Okay, let's do it. Right. So to me, it was like the perfect thing to happen. And when I look at this book, to me, it really does show exactly what you said, a journey from fear to love. And one of the things that is so powerful for me is and exciting for me actually is when I read this book now, because this book was written 12, 13 years ago.
2010.
2010. So
It was written longer ago than that. It was
right.
compiled in 2010.
2010, right? So your parts of it were written in 2010, right?
Yes.
But what I find interesting is that the message hasn't changed. You know, there's so many spiritual teachers who evolve and change their message all the way along because they don't believe that anymore. Now they believe this. And when I read this book now, 12 years later, and I'm reading these blog posts that I wrote probably 4 years before that, you know, the blog post might even be 14, 15 years old, right? And when I read them, it's like they're still in alignment. And as you know, Holly, because you've known me forever, that the most important thing to me is the teachings from Jeshua and what came through, and I want nothing more than them to be pure. And when I read these things, I see words I'm still using, and so 15 years, the message hasn't changed, but when this book came out and when I was doing all that work, it was a different time. It's just really a different time. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just time for it to come out now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that too. It's like, I think of where we were at the time. As you say, you know, I think we were kind of preaching to the choir. It's an overused trite phrase, but that's all I can think of. And I think so many people now are on the path of personal growth and spiritual growth that there are a lot that are looking for a guru. There are a lot who are looking for, I've used the word before, a savior. They're looking for someone to tell you what to do.
Right.
And that's not at all what this book is.
Right.
As I said before, it's a framework. And that's what I love about why it's still truth. Everything that's in here is truth. Because it is universal truth. It's not opinion. It's even the stories about your son, they're all so eminently relatable. They're human. They're, of course, because it's you, they're very funny. There's a lot that's very touching. It's inspiring. It's thought-provoking. And I think that it's more powerful and useful now because I think people have their ears open, to use Joshua's analogy.
Right. Well, you remember all those years ago when you and I were traveling all over the country. And for those of you guys who don't know, when I was doing my spiritual work all those years ago, Holly was my right-hand woman. She was the one who handled everything. She booked sessions. She sold merchandise. She traveled with me, even though she hated to travel. She had to listen to me sing Bing Crosby songs. It was terrible for her, really horrible.
Oh my God!
Right? And what we discovered, and I'm sure Holly, you'll completely agree with this, we would go to the same places year after year, and the same people would come back with the same problems year after year after year. And the reason they were doing that is because they weren't taking on ownership of their own lives. They were literally not stepping into their divinity, which is what the teaching's basis is. Step into your own divinity, your own power. Recognize your oneness with God in the here and now. And they weren't stepping into it. Well, all they were doing was say, well, look, it's John the Beloved reincarnated. And they would get so, and which is why I left spiritual work, because I could not bring myself to be a crutch for others. Because I'm not a crutch. They are their crutch. They are the ones who brings themselves up. And if I were to continue to do that. It would have been completely wrong of me to do that. And then when I came back to this work a year and a half ago, I'm blown away at the difference in humanity. Everybody is coming into the divinity. Everyone's waking up. I run into more recovering Catholics who are like, my God, this is what I've always believed. And people, that's one of the most exciting things I hear is that I've always believed this, but I've never heard anybody say it. Right? And this feels right to me. And to me, that is the most important thing, is that people are finding their personal truth. And,
Right.
they're not going to agree with everything I say, and they're not going to but they're finding something that empowers them from within. And that, when this book and the way you particularly laid this book out, each one of our journey into our divinity always starts with our fears. And it goes from the fear of why we're here, and the fear of not being loved, and the traumatic events of our lives, and how the conditional love created those traumatic events, and all these things. And the way you come to that place of divinity is to release the fears and come back to love. And, the Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. And, this whole book is all about going from fear to love. And that's the brilliance of the way you did this book, is that you took it from, blog posts that I randomly wrote and put into a blog. And you went, okay, I can see a structure here that John doesn't see. And you create.
That's exactly it. Well put. That's exactly it. Because I can't remember now if I have already said this or not, but to me, the journey in the book is an ascension. And that's something that we're all aspiring to in our own lives. And I think, to relate to what you were saying about the general populace now, so many people are more interested in their own ascension, in their own divinity. And if I had thought about it when we were reissuing, I would have probably changed the last chapter from God to the divine. Because to me, not only to respect, there's a bazillion different kinds of faiths out there, but I don't care what language you put to the divine. The whole point is that you go from fear to love to the ultimate truth. And the truths in here, whether they're in the form of a funny parable or a healing miracle, they're still truths. It's that simple.
Right.
And I think that's why this carries a universal message.
Right. And it's so interesting. So, one of my memories from the past life is the quote, "When you seek a path will be laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway." And what I find is happening right now with the people of humanity is they're discovering their paths lead nowhere. And they're starting to come into the space of, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. And they're stepping into that power of saying, okay, this doesn't feel right. And they're getting back into their heart center. And, the parable of Adam and Eve, everyone always forgets what that parable is, but they ate from the tree of knowledge and they got kicked out of paradise, right? And they got in their heads and out of their hearts. And all the religions and everything is in the head. You have to do this, you have to do that, you can't eat meat on Friday, all these rules and regulations, those are in the head. But the feeling of it is where it truly is.
Right.
And people are coming back to the feeling. And I think that's what this book does. I mean, it takes you from the fear, which hides the feeling of love, whereas, as the book of John would say, God is love, the feeling of God in your present moment. Right. And it journeys you from the fear to the love, where you get to experience that divinity and that oneness with God in the here and now, in the I am moment, right? The present moment. Not the I was or I will be moment, but the I am moment. And I think that's the brilliance of this book. And we're talking about this book a lot, obviously, because we're proud of it. It's something that we think that does good things in the world. And, of course, we're going to put a link below the video below where they can get their own copy if they want on Amazon. But if I think that if somebody's on a path to their own divinity, or finding what they, or even finding a simple spirituality, that's a better way to say it, a simple spirituality, a truth that they can grab a hold of, I think this book is a perfect guidebook, and it says it right on the cover, a guide to an inspired life. But what is inspiration? Inspiration is the feeling of of being powerful, of being inspired to do.
Mhm.
And that to me is the perfect
And
title for the book.
literally inspire,
Mm,
inbreathing, inspiring
yeah,
from the divine.
absolutely. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And so,
Mm.
is there anything else that you'd like to share with this audience about this book or its meaning to you?
It's hard. I know when we first discussed reissuing it, there was like this giant light bulb over my head. It's like, well, duh, of course. It was just the perfect thought for now. And it was like something clicked into place. It's like, this is the perfect time. And so I'm proud again,
Hmm.
like we were when we first issued it. I'm proud again of the result and the effect that it's having on people. And I hope that those listening can enjoy it and take something from it and share it, spread the word so that there's more and more people taking charge and
Yeah.
inspiring and allowing others to be inspired as well. And I think that's really important. There's my cat. Sorry. Hello. She wants.
Hello, cat. Welcome.
Um,
You're allowed too. Look at that
that's
tail.
right. So it's it as I said before. I mean, just from a practical brain standpoint, it was tremendous fun to do. I love that kind of organizing words. But it was fun, especially with this purpose in mind. And I'm just really glad that we put it back out there for people to enjoy.
Yeah. Me too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a lovely chat with my good friend Holly about our book. And if you guys are finding that you're enjoying the videos on my channel and that you're getting something out of them, there's more in this book. There's more, and you're going to find it fascinating, the nuances that are from the written word that you'll get, as opposed to hearing my big booming voice telling you on a video. You can read it in a book and have a nice quiet moment on a back deck with your cup of coffee, enjoying the stories and experiencing those fun little moments with me and my son and various other stories as well. The book is all about you, and it's all about your journey from love to fear. I'm sorry, from fear to love. Not the opposite. Right. From fear to love. It's all about you having epiphanies and you having that oh, I get that. I understand that. And I can incorporate that into my life. And so if you're interested, there's a link below. You can go get that book. And I just wanted to have this conversation with Holly because I like Holly. She's pretty cool too. So
Well,
thank you,
thanks.
thank you, Holly, for being here.
Thank you, my brother, in more ways than one.
Isn't that the truth? All right, so we will talk to you at another time. Have a great day. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.